You wake each morning believing you're stepping into another ordinary day, yet something inside you already feels tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that whispers from a deeper place, a place you've ignored for years, and without knowing it, you rise into a battlefield that has no drums, no flags, no visible enemies, a battlefield disguised as routine, as normalcy, as the quiet sigh you release before the world hears you speak. This is the war no one warned you about, the war that began long before you learned its name. You move through life thinking your exhaustion is random. You assume your frustration is just stress. You tell yourself you're fine because everyone else seems to be fighting the same invisible heaviness. But this is the first lie of the battlefield, the belief that what you feel is just part of being alive. Ancient warriors knew when they were at war. They saw their enemies, sharpened their swords, prepared their spirit. But you walk through your days armed with nothing, facing an enemy you cannot see, trained for battles that no longer exist. Your mind has been absorbing blows you never learned to dodge. The noise of the world slips into your thoughts like smoke beneath a door, too subtle to notice until you are choking on it. Somewhere inside you, a part of your spirit has been calling for awareness, asking you to notice the tension in your chest, the weight in your shoulders, the silence between your breaths, but you've grown used to ignoring it. Every man enters this mental war without invitation. It becomes the shadow behind his smile, the fog beneath his decisions, the unseen hand at his back. And the first truth you must learn is simple. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are simply fighting blind. Awareness is your first weapon. And right now, you are finally opening your eyes. If you listen closely, there is a voice inside you that does not come from your deepest strength. It comes from somewhere colder, older, shaped by fear you never chose. This is the Shadow General, the enemy that has lived inside your mind long before you knew he was there. He does not shout, he whispers. He bends your thoughts until they turn against you. And the most unsettling part is that he speaks with your voice. Ancient warriors understood that the first step toward conquering an enemy was to name him. They gave form to their fears, their doubts, their weaknesses. Because what you can name, you can face. But modern men do the opposite. They outrun their thoughts. They drown their discomfort in endless noise. They pretend their internal chaos is just fatigue, or bad luck, or a problem to fix later. And in that silence, the enemy grows stronger. Imagine a figure standing just behind your shoulder, whispering every insecurity you've ever carried. You're not enough. You're falling behind. You'll fail. He learns your patterns better than any friend, any mentor, any loved one. He knows which memories wound you. He knows which hopes frighten you, and he uses them like weapons. Most men believe their enemy is the world, the economy, their past, their circumstances. But the deeper truth is that the most dangerous adversary is the one who loops your doubts into a single unbroken chain, the one who keeps you awake at night, the one who tells you you're safer staying small, staying quiet, staying unseen. This enemy does not attack all at once. He erodes you slowly, a hesitation here, a moment of self-betrayal there, until one day you wake up and realize the battle you feared is already inside your own mind. But here is the revelation. The Shadow General gains power only when you refuse to look at him. Once you turn your gaze inward, once you expose his shape, his strategy, his voice, he begins to weaken. You have lived under this enemy's influence for years, but you are about to learn that he is not invincible. You were born with weapons far sharper than anything forged from steel, yet no one ever taught you how to wield them. Instead, you were handed distraction, overstimulation, and the quiet expectation to simply push through whatever you feel. Like a warrior entering battle without a blade, you have been fighting the world with empty hands, forgetting that your real strength was never external. The ancient warriors understood something modern men have forgotten. Discipline is a sword. Stillness is a shield. Brutal self-honesty is the armor that keeps a man alive when everything around him collapses. And yet these tools remain unused because no one showed you where you left them. You were taught how to work, but not how to think. How to respond, but not how to reflect. You were conditioned to seek comfort instead of clarity, stimulation instead of stability. And because of this, your inner weapons have rusted beneath layers of noise, doubt, and unprocessed pain. There is a quiet truth here. A man can lift heavy weights and still crumble under the weight of his own thoughts. External strength means nothing when the inner world is weak. Real mastery begins when you stop swinging blindly and instead learn the shape of your own mind. Self-awareness is not a soft skill. It is a warrior's shield. It is the barrier between you and the attacks that come from within. It allows you to see your reactions before they control you, to sense your wounds before they bleed, to guide your emotions instead of being drowned by them. And mental armor. It is built one small ritual at a time. It is in the quiet moments when you choose presence over distraction, when you observe yourself with honesty rather than judgment, when you commit to sharpening your inner blade, even when no one sees you. You are not unarmed. You are simply untrained, but the weapons are already in your hands, waiting for you to remember how to use them. There are days when everything feels heavier than it should, when a small mistake spirals into catastrophe, when a single doubt becomes a storm. This is the psychological ambush, the invisible moment, when your mind turns inward and unleashes an attack before life even has the chance. Ancient warriors feared arrows, ambushes, unseen enemies hidden in the trees. But modern men face a battlefield that exists entirely in the mind. The ambush comes from your own thoughts, disguised as logic, wrapped in emotion, sharpened by old wounds you never healed. You felt it before. A conversation repeats in your head long after it ends. A future scenario you invented becomes more terrifying than reality. A minor setback convinces you that everything is falling apart. It's like stepping onto a battlefield only to realize your own army has turned against you. Your mind magnifies threats that barely exist. It reopens wounds whenever life becomes uncertain. It takes your fears and multiplies them into an echo chamber that grows louder in silence. And this cycle repeats because you were never taught to see it coming. But every ambush has signs, subtle shifts, patterns you overlook, the tightening in your chest, the restless pacing of your thoughts, the sudden drop in clarity, moments where your mind whispers that something is wrong, even when nothing is. Recognizing the ambush is the beginning of defeating it, because once you can anticipate the mind's betrayal, you can step aside instead of stepping into its trap. You can choose not to believe every thought. You can refuse to follow every fear. You can interrupt the pattern before it pulls you under. This is not about controlling your mind. It is about understanding it well enough that it can no longer control you. And once you learn to spot the ambush, the mind begins to lose its advantage. There is a poison that modern men drink every day without realizing it. It slips into your thoughts the moment you scroll, the moment you compare, the moment you look at someone else's life and decide that yours is not enough. This is the slow toxin of comparison, a poison so common that you've mistaken it for water. Ancient warriors understood a simple truth. The only man worth comparing yourself to is the one you were yesterday. Progress was personal. Growth was internal. Identity was earned through action, not measured through illusions. But today, men measure themselves against edited shadows, against lives curated for display, against victories that were never theirs to carry. This poison does not kill you quickly. It erodes you quietly. It undermines ambition by convincing you that you are behind. It weakens courage by whispering that others are stronger, smarter, more disciplined, more successful. And worst of all, it blinds you to your own path by dragging your gaze to paths that were never meant for you. Self-judgment becomes the second poison, the silent companion to comparison. It tells you that you should be further, that you should be better, that you should already have become the man you imagine. This judgment cripples movement. It keeps you stuck in cycles of doubt, hesitation, and self-punishment. But here is the truth hidden beneath the toxin. Comparison is not part of your nature. It is a weapon the mind uses against itself when it has forgotten its own direction. And once you see it for what it is, a trap, a lie, a slow form of self-destruction, you can choose to step out of it. Your life is your battlefield. Your progress is your measurement. Your past self is your only opponent. The mental war becomes far easier to fight when you stop poisoning yourself before the battle even begins. There was a time when men could sit in silence and feel their minds settle like calm water. A time when stillness was not a luxury, but a practice. Ancient warriors understood that clarity came not from movement, but from quiet, the kind of quiet that reveals a man's true nature. But in the modern world, stillness has become a forgotten art, a relic of an older time buried beneath constant noise. Today, silence feels unnatural. The moment the world grows quiet, your mind becomes loud. Thoughts rush in. Worries multiply. The world demands your attention so relentlessly that the idea of sitting alone with your thoughts feels uncomfortable, even threatening. This is no accident. Overstimulation keeps the mind in conflict, unable to rest, unable to reset. Imagine a lake that once reflected the sky with perfect clarity. But now the water never stops moving, disturbed by notifications, obligations, anxieties, and the infinite distractions of a world that profits from your attention. When the water never stills, nothing can be reflected, nothing can be seen clearly, and your inner world becomes the same, clouded, distorted, restless. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of awareness. It is the space where the noise settles, where thoughts soften, where truth rises to the surface. Ancient warriors sat in silence before battle because they knew the mind must be calm before the body can act with precision. Your mind is no different. Without stillness, the mental war becomes endless. Without quiet, you cannot see the enemy coming. Without space, you cannot hear your own wisdom. The modern world has stolen stillness from you, but it cannot keep it if you decide to reclaim it. A few minutes of genuine quiet each day becomes a hidden advantage, a battlefield edge that most men will never discover. Inner stillness is not just peace, it is power. Every warrior reaches a moment when he must decide whether to keep fighting the old way blindly, reactively, emotionally, or to take control of the battlefield and shift his strategy. This moment is the turning point, and for you, it begins with a simple realization. The war you're fighting cannot be won with the habits that created it. There comes a day when the fog begins to lift, even slightly, and you see the battlefield clearly. You recognize the internal enemy. You see the ambush patterns. You feel the poison of comparison. You sense the absence of stillness. And something inside you whispers that continuing as you are will only lead you deeper into exhaustion. This whisper is not weakness. It is awakening. To fight differently means naming the enemy within you, calling out your fears, identifying your patterns, sharpening the tools you ignored. It means stepping back from automatic reactions and choosing deliberate action. You shift from being a victim of your own thoughts to becoming the strategist who directs them. Old habits will resist, old stories will protest, the shadow general will attempt to regain control. But once you begin to fight with awareness, the battlefield changes. You stop feeding the enemy, you stop walking into ambushes, you stop poisoning yourself with illusion. Hope does not arrive as excitement, it arrives as clarity, calm, direction. You begin to understand that this war, the mental war, is not a curse. It is an invitation to rise into a version of yourself that you have not yet met. You have crossed the threshold. The transformation is no longer a possibility. It has begun. Strength is not found in avoiding the battle. Strength is found in standing within it, calm, rooted, unshaken by the storms that rise in your mind. Ancient warriors were feared, not because of their weapons, but because of their presence. They trained the mind first, knowing that the body merely follows its command. To become unbreakable does not mean you will not struggle. It means the struggle no longer controls you. You learn to stand like a mountain, immovable, grounded, shaped by the storms yet untouched at the core. The world may send chaos, your mind may send challenges, but your center remains solid. You understand now that the mental war never ends. Life will always test you. Your fears will evolve. Your doubts will adapt. The shadow general may retreat, but he will never disappear completely. And that is not something to fear. It is something to respect. Because the warrior who knows the battlefield no longer seeks escape. He seeks mastery. The slow poisons no longer tempt you. The ambushes no longer surprise you. The noise of the world no longer shakes you. Stillness becomes your refuge. Discipline becomes your weapon. Awareness becomes your armor. And identity becomes something you carve, not something you inherit. Musashi taught a singular lesson that echoes through centuries. The mind is the true battlefield, not the sword, not the opponent, not the world. The mind, and now you understand why. You were never losing because you were weak. You were losing because you were unprepared. But now you see the truth with clarity. You are not here to escape the mental war. You are here to win it. Walk forward with calm authority. The battle continues, but so do you.